What's up, everybody? 3 o'clock. Happy 420 to everyone. We'll give everyone a few minutes to get in here. A couple cool things to show everybody. A couple graphics, couple statistics, a couple funny things too. So anybody that wants to come up and talk about their experiences with marijuana, pot, weed, whatever you'd like to call it, the link is in the chat. And we'll start waiting for a couple people to join us. Make sure we got the right thing going on here. And we will talk about 420 and how everyone is with pot and their feelings and their thoughts on it. So let's say I have a couple people that messaged already. Not a loaded chat as usual. That must not be a big topic for some. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this show, to get over the stereotypical thoughts of the way the pot used to be. Reefer Madness movie. If you ever saw Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, they watched that's called Reefer Madness. It was a real movie that they actually showed kids in school. So older people, but by that, I'm old too. I'm 40. I'll be 45 this year. But people that are older are least likely to be accepting of medical marijuana. But let me tell you something. I see a lot of people that are a lot older than me at the dispensaries all the time. And this isn't, we're not just smoking joints and Cheech and Chonging it. You know what I mean? What you could do, if you want to cut loose, instead of having a dozen or so beers or whatever your drink is of your choice, you don't have a hangover. And it's depending on how you intake it. If you smoke it in a blunt or a cigar or something like that, you're getting that, that in there. But glass bowl, different things like that you can use. So let's see what people's thoughts are on our 420 special, and I'll show you a few things that I have, a couple of slides. Some are funny. What's up, Melissa? How are you doing today? Hopefully enjoying your 420. Junior Johnson. Well, Junior Johnson, I put the thing in the chat. If you'd like to come up and tell a story about a Bob Marley concert, I think today would be the day to do it. I don't know if you've ever been on before or not, but click on the chat and come up if you'd like to. You can show your face or not, but today's a good day for a Bob Marley story, right? What's better than today? So there it is there for anyone who wants to come up. Today we're just going to keep this to like talk about pot, weed, however you want to, whatever you want to call it. So obviously a break from the true crime stuff a little bit. Hey, what's up, Tech Death? Whoops, I've tried to, Truth and Justice. Comments are filling up now. The peeps are coming in. Tech Death brings up a good point. I don't know really a lot about this, but microdosing mushrooms has been explained to me like resetting your brain. People with Alzheimer's, people with different ailments, mental things going on, that it's almost like shutting your computer on and off is how it's been explained to me. But I'm not huge on the mushrooms. I've taken them before. Usually with my experience with mushrooms, taking them, you just like laugh for hours, not necessarily seeing a lot of things. But chronic conditions, and I'm interested what you have to say. Georgia and medical is just getting started. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I'll tell you everything that's wrong with me, which in itself could be a show, right? I'm sure people could argue. What's up, Miranda? Right now in PA, it's legal if you have your weed card. It's very easy to get your weed card. There's a lot of different things that you can, get it for. But technically you have to have it. But what we've seen is the police really across the state are, unless you're smoking a blunt in your car and driving it, that would make you an idiot. Same thing as drinking a beer and driving your car. You just can't do that. They're really not prosecuting too much for marijuana. On occasion, you might see someone that's has a few pounds or something. But even the sentencing is back. And you know what? I can't see anyone being in jail for a flower. To me, it's absolutely ludicrous. Non-violent drug offenders that involve marijuana should not be in prison. However you want to handle it. But that's my thoughts on it. I was busted with a bag of pot in the early 70s. Yeah, wow. Yeah, there's people who've done a ton of jail time for marijuana. And do you know that the federal government currently schedules marijuana as Schedule 1? Schedule 1's the worst of the worst, okay? No medical value, highly addictive. This is what the federal government to this day, April 20th, 2024, Schedule 2, not as bad. Okay. They're saying this isn't as bad as marijuana. Fentanyl. Fentanyl. The federal government tells us that fentanyl is safer than marijuana. Fentanyl. Okay. My response to the federal government is you fix that, and I'll listen to something you have to say about any kind of science. Any kind of science. I don't care what kind of science it is. Until you fix that, away with you. I don't want to hear it because it's absolutely laughable that is. Junior John Sakaski, male, female. I would guess male, but I've been wrong before about a lot of people. I don't know who anyone is, and that doesn't really matter to me, but be my guess. Tech death. Yeah, I never did the microdosing thing. Like I said, that's interesting too. I don't know enough about that. I've done mushrooms a couple of times in my life, and it was purely for fun in my younger days. It wasn't like it was any kind of medical. As many people start smoking pot, it isn't for medical reasons. It's because it's, kind of what you're doing. You're experimenting with different things. And for a long time, marijuana, the gateway drug. We know that that's not true. We know that alcohol is the gateway drug. Those of you that smoke pot, think back in your lifetimes and how many times you've done things you probably shouldn't have done. And you're like, wow, how did I get away with that? How did I survive that? Were you high only on marijuana? Were you drunk? Was it a combination of both? When it's a combination of both, a lot of times the alcohol takes over. So if you're really drunk and then you smoke pot, it might put you to sleep. If you're high and then you drink, that alcohol is going to take over. That's much more stronger drug than marijuana is alcohol. It's not even close. Nicotine is a much more stronger drug than marijuana is. And we can buy these things, if you're a certain age in every single state. So it's interesting to me, people's takes. But when you try to explain to people different things, people are open once you say, hey, yeah, Junior, heroin's a flower too, but heavily processed. You could have cocaine's a plant, but you could pull that bud off of a weed plant, let it dry out and smoke it. You don't have to do anything to it, right? The other things you have to do a lot of things and a lot of manufacturing too. So along the same lines as your food, you want to eat something, and I learned this being a celiac, you want the less processing, the better, less chance of gluten being introduced is better. But just overall, the less processing of your food, the better, the healthier it's going to be for you. Think about you buy an apple. Apple comes off. You have an apple in your backyard. Have an apple tree. Say you're lucky enough to have an apple tree. Apple falls off the tree. You wash it off and eat it. There's no processing to it. Theoretically, you could eat it without washing it off, I guess. But, if you kind of think of it that way. It's legal recreationally and medically in Michigan. My daughter got her medical card and from her internet doctor. Some of those places, I know that Maryland became legal and they're near us. And if you have your card, you have access to many different things than the general public does. So they have it legal, but like it's kind of odd. And then I know in other states, it's you go up to like Maine or something. I have friends that go up there and hunt. And it's just you go and buy whatever you want as long as you're 18. I think it's 18, could be 21. New York been legal, but farmers aren't doing good at shops. Well, I know in Pennsylvania it is a booming industry, and every time I go to the dispensary, there's people. I went yesterday. They have sales now, so it's like you're going to the grocery store. You get an email once a week. This is what's on sale, or every couple of days you buy one of these, half off of this. So it's like everything else now. It's initially whenever it first happened, we first got our cards and our legal. You're able to get your medical card in Pennsylvania. There wasn't as many dispensaries. So, supply and demand, it was a seller's market. Well, now it's a buyer's market because there's a lot of these dispensaries out, and it's good. It's competition. And a lot of people got jobs from it. A lot of people. I found 2 pounds of weed next to shredded cow by empty 2 pounds of weed. Wonder if it was dropped there as part of like some kind of deal. You know what I mean? Hey, it's behind this cow over here. Edibles are a different story. Edibles, we'll talk about the different delivery systems. Edibles are a different story. So I've taken edibles before too. I've taken them before medical marijuana where people just made them. We really didn't know what we were doing. But basically what you used to be able to do was you would take your weed and you put it in with a pot of butter. and you'd mix it up. Then you would strain the weed out of the butter, so the weed itself wouldn't be in the brownie. Everyone always made brownies, right? Weed itself wouldn't be in a brownie. The THC sticks to the fat cells in the butter. So you're basically taking all that out of the weed. That's what they do now. They use heat. They use presses. So edibles hit you. It takes longer to hit you. It might be 45 minutes to an hour, but the delivery system is different. So it's going to have a different effect on you. Body highs and different things like that. Some people like it, some don't. You could get them varying doses and varying levels, but some people, you freak out. It's a mental thing. You're just like, oh my God, it does something to you. So some people can, some people can't. I do on occasion, but mostly I'm a big just flower guy. You know, vapes when I need to be discreet, or, you know, traveling or something like that. Yeah, cocaine. I've done cocaine before. Cocaine was really big around this time. I think it's big in urban areas. My theory with cocaine is people that can't get cocaine cook meth. If you could get cocaine, you could get crack, whatever variants you want to talk about from that. But I mean, that's a killer. That drug's a killer, especially now. You know, God, I haven't done it in fucking many ages. But the people now that do it have to worry about what do they put in there. And are they spiking the package? And let me explain by spiking the package what that does. Why would someone want to spike a package? Let's talk heroin, right? And this happens in McKeesport more times than we'd like to admit. So here's the sense business-wise for spiking a package. For some reason, people that do heroin, if they hear there's a package or people are buying dope somewhere and they're falling out or they're overdosing, they flock to that drug dealer because that's the best heroin. It's killing people. And that's how crazy the mindset is for the people that are using heroin. Like if you were a weed dealer and you killed somebody from your weed because you added something to it, which by the way has never happened before in the history of ever. But if you do that and you're out of business, no one's ever going to buy weed from you. But if you're a heroin dealer and every once in a while you spike your package, they're going to come running to you. Now you have the legal worries, you know, hey, they trace it back to you. Could you be charged for murder? Could you be charged with something like that? All those things are possible. Chances are you're not going to be Mac Miller, you know, the person that sold him the drugs, charged. If a celebrity dies of a drug overdose, they might charge you. But if it's just a normal person does, they're not going to do it. And that's not fair and it's unfortunate. But you got to worry about what they put in it today, not just the cocaine. It ain't like the cocaine from the 80s and the 90s. You know, where people will put different things to cut. They'll cut it with baby laxative, just all kind of different things like that. And also cocaine itself does not contain gluten, but the cuts do. So if anyone is a celiac, cocaine is not going to be the drug for you unless you could get some raw from like the fucking Medellin cartel or something. And then there's a whole another set of worries if you do that. Yeah, Indiana, definitely not. We were talking about that when we were out there near a courthouse with our vape pens. You could buy the same in person as in a person with the car, but the price. Oh, okay. So they do a different with price then. That's different. Yeah. So each state, they left it up to each state to do their own thing, which I kind of like. You know, federal government's, you know, fix this goddamn schedule, take it off the drug schedule. But for the love of God, it can't be worse than fentanyl. No one believes that. Like, you know, federal government makes you look dumb. Don't get mad at me. Get mad at science, right? Get mad at science. Nothing we can do. I know a lot of people that have talked, just friends from Indiana, not necessarily them, but their relatives. Yeah, they drive up there and they get, you know, this or that. And it's not illegal for a person in Michigan to sell to a person from a different state. You know, they're not going to say, hey, by the way, I'm going to take all this across the state lines. They don't have to ask that question. Allergic. I wonder, allergic like physical reaction or like a mental thing, because I know mentally that it really gets behind people. Sativa. Oh, we can talk about that. Sativa is like coffee. Sativa will pick you up. Then they'll have hybrids, which is a mix of sativa and indica. Indica puts you into the couch. Indica is what helps you sleep. Indica is what got me to be able to sleep we're going back to around September of 2019. My first bout of true insomnia I slept about 6 hours in 2 weeks. I'd sleep with the light on because it was easier to breathe. That's how crazy that is. That's what this PTSD does. Before I knew what I was dealing with, before I understood what was happening to me. And, you know, to be perfectly honest, always kind of a weed smoker. We have it in our contract as a fireman for the city of McKeesport that we're allowed to possess our weed card. You can't go blowing blunts at work or anything like that, but you're allowed to have that because our mayor and our city government get it. They understand, you know, what it's about. We've had 2 police officers in my career commit suicide from things that happened, 100% from things that happened at work. Didn't happen at work, but you know, that's what it is. To this day, more firemen, more police, more paramedics kill themselves every year than are killed in the line of duty. Think about that. They kill themselves more than they're killed at work. That is absolutely horrible. And we just, oh, yeah, Paul. Oh, yeah. Bullshit. It has to end. We can't go on another year like that. Think about how crazy that is. What leads you to want to kill yourself? What brings you that PTSD? How much can a person see? These are the conversations that you have. Spawned out of this conversation was the psychological effects of marijuana and how it can help you. Okay. Rick Simpson oil. If you ever hear of RSO oil was a guy named Rick Simpson who basically figured a way out to press down marijuana, heat it up, extract the oil out of it. What was it used for and why? The reason that we have medical marijuana today, I'll keep it real with you, is a bunch of mothers had children that had seizures, epileptic seizures, different seizures. These kids would have hundreds of seizures a week. They sampled everything they could try. The doctors didn't know what to do. Okay, well, maybe marijuana, you know, and they were talking the 90s. So there was still a stigmata, if you watch The Sopranos, there was still a stigmata about weed back then. You know, it's not 30 years later. We know what weed is now. Weed's a medicine. And this guy would get this oil, illegally make it, and give this oil to these children. They would go from having hundreds of seizures a week to having single-digit seizures a week. It's irrefutable evidence. This shit works. This is the reason that all these children are not having any seizures. They go to Congress. They push for it. Born out of that is basically the legislation to say, hey, we agree with you, but we're not going to force it. We'll leave it up to the states. Which anytime the federal government does that, for the most part, I'm okay with it. Leave it up to the states. Okay, we're cool. So that's the RSO oil. So I was introduced to Rick Simpson oil. It comes in like a syringe. It's a plastic syringe. I have one in the kitchen. I don't think I need to grab it. And you would just push out what you need, milligram, 2 milligrams. Usually there's 8 milligrams in there. And we're talking anywhere from, I guess, could be in the 50s to the 90% THC. So they're extremely strong. So I get the card, you know, and as I'm trying to process this not sleeping thing, this is all happening at the same time in like a 2-week period. I get there, you know, you meet with the shrink, or not with the shrink, you meet with the shrink to get your card. Is one of the ways to do it. That's how I did it. You meet with, they have a pharmacist on site at the dispensary at all times. You have any questions, you could go ask, hey, this is my issue. I have high blood pressure. Well, there's a strand of weed for it. I get headaches. There's a strand of weed for it. I have back pain. There's a strand of weed for it. You're not just smoking just dope. You're not just going there and blowing fucking pot. You're taking specific things like you would a medicine, right? You go to the pharmacist at Rite Aid down the street and say, hey, I'm having gas pains. They're not going to give you Tylenol PM or something like. They're going to give you something specific for that. That's what they do now. So I mentioned to the guy, oh, my physical ailments, right? Here's my physical ailments. I have arthritis in my neck. I have whatever they call that, where your neck goes the wrong way at the top. I have 3 bone spurs in my neck, which I just recently saw an x-ray of, and they're not fun to look at. Lower back, I have arthritis. I have spinal stenosis. I have one ruptured, one herniated. I have arthritis in my left knee. I have severe arthritis in my left ankle, which is probably the worst of it. If you ever seen an arthritis x-ray, my knee my ankle just looks like cotton. You know how that's that cottony look. My whole thing looks like it. They don't do ankle replacements yet, so it's suck it up. But people have got it worse than me. I'm not complaining. But just to show you, I could smoke for it. I have creams that I use. Dr. Solomon's a great one. THC CBD cream. They have ointments. They even have a weed suppository. So if you ever were bound up or whatever, you can go get a weed suppository. They have different edible things to eat. You could take them in pill form. You could take a tincture. I enjoy tinctures. You put it under your tongue. It gets into that system and delivers it. We have a cannabinoid receptor system in our body. I'm going to show you pictures of it in a few minutes here. We have that in our body. Cannabinoid, we know what that means. We know what receptor means. It means to receive. So our bodies were designed to intake a certain amount of cannabis, and it helps it fire better. One of the things they learned with COVID in different countries, not America, the studies they did, people that smoked weed normally when they got COVID, since their cannabinoid receptor systems were firing at such a level, you could still get COVID, but it wouldn't sit down deep in your lungs. So you would see a lot of people that smoked pot, as long as they didn't have other health issues. You got other health issues that disease attacked, then you might be in trouble no matter what you did, but it would actually not let it sit down in you. Okay. So I'm going to take put a couple comments up here, and then I'm going to show you the couple slides I have. You stopped smoking 43 years ago. Paranoid. That's what I get a lot from people, because I know people I went to high school with, and, they would smoke pot and then be like, oh, did you hear that car outside? And you're like, no, there's not a car. They're able to get that out of there. However they figured it out, no one gets paranoid from the weed anymore that you buy medically. I don't know about what's going on the street with weed nowadays. Plus, it's cheaper. It's cheaper than it is on the street. Yeah, fentanyl. They're spiking packages for different reasons. Like I said, that was just one of them. Oh yeah, people do coke and just tell stories. Oh yeah, let me tell you about this. Blah blah blah. And everyone else is like waiting to tell their story. As soon as that person quits talking for a second, the next person is the quickest. Oh yeah, let me tell you this story. Cocaine was fun for about 15 minutes. And then after that, sucked. Weed's fun forever, I think. Only allowed to have so much here. Are you allowed to grow it where you are, Truth and Justice? Because that's one of the things that I've heard about, where they can only, you could grow so much. I could go to the dispensary and buy $10,000 worth of pot. There's no limit on it. You know what I mean? There's no you buy so much alcohol, you have to come back and forth. They don't do that there. County by county. Wow, that's wild. Usually the state takes that over. But ours is like a blanket state law. I could go to any county. I could go to Philadelphia to a dispensary. It doesn't matter that I'm from Pittsburgh. Reminds me of Crocodile Dundee. Put cocaine in hot water. Oh, yeah. Crocodile Dundee. That's not a knife. This is a knife. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. You can't do street drugs. Yeah, I know. And you know what? The drug dealers that I knew growing up, they didn't want to kill people. They just wanted to get you high, wanted you to come back. So I don't understand the game that much anymore. Luckily, I'm out of it. My whole family smokes pot or does edibles. I got nothing against it. Well, then, Junior Johnson, you probably sit back and laugh your ass off sometimes. Like, look at these fucking people. What are they doing? Yeah, I don't knock what anybody does. Even if people are like, if you in your own personal life, you like to do some coke or you like to do this, hey man, whatever. You're an adult, you know what I mean? But I'm just telling you what works for me, and I'm telling you why it works for me. And so this show is for people. I'm glad you're here, Junior. It's just for people like you too. Maybe you don't smoke weed, but you hear other people's stories. Hey, this is why I do it. This is what works for me. And we can knock off all the stigmas and things about it that have I think have long fallen off. And the further we go out, like in 100 years, in 2050, they're going to look at that video from the 1950s and be like, can you believe they used to show this to people in school, and people were like, oh my God, reefer madness. Oh, you're going to look like a zombie and come out of a closet and jack off. And that's what the video says. I mean, you watch it now, it's literally funny. But you got to understand that our parents, at least my parents in my 40s, they saw that video and they believed that video. And they didn't know, that's what they believed, and they trusted the government. We don't anymore. It helps, not hurts. Yeah. And you know what? Alcohol too. I'm not here to bash people to drink, because I do. I'm going to have a couple later. I don't drink all the time. But if you drink every day or smoke pot every day, without question, the drinking every day is going to eventually kill you. The smoking a pot every day is never going to kill you. But to each his own. A couple people like to have a couple glasses of wine with dinner or this or that, or we're not talking about the people that get up and start drink a beer as soon as they wake up out of bed to get rid of their hangover, and then they're during the day for lunch they have a couple clear ones or something like that. But just the general thing, because I don't think anyone really just constantly getting high all day. You might get one to get you going in the morning, move around, do your thing, in the evening to relax, maybe before bed, you have some of your sativa or your indica. And again, with me, I'm shot out of a cannon in the morning, and I drink black coffee, drink about a pot a day. I don't need sped up. I need slowed down. And that's how my PTSD works. It's I'm raging forward, and I need to just pull the reins back a little bit. Waiting forever for Wisconsin. Maddening how backwards our state is. Yeah. Well, that's good, Cindy. You're someone that doesn't even, partake in it, and you could see that. You got to let your politicians know, you know what I mean? Like, hey, enough's enough. And I know people are like, oh, the Democrats are for it, Republicans are against it. Yeah, so to speak. But like, you talk to people, and they're. I don't think it's as bad as it's like that anymore. I think there's a few stalwart holdouts on both sides that, for whatever reason, the people that are really anti-marijuana, they're very pro-pharmaceutical industry. They're very pro-big pharma, big medical. Why? Because if I smoke pot, I don't need all your bullshit pills anymore. I don't need to take this, and that. I don't need to take this pill for my blood pressure, to take this pill to offset it. You know why? Because I'm going to smoke a joint after lunch, and my blood pressure is going to lower. That's going to take care of itself. So that's why, and big alcohol. When Colorado, remember, Colorado is the first state to have, the full blown and do whatever you want to do with weed type, even before California, Colorado. What's in Colorado? Coors, right? Great beer. I used to drink it when I was able to drink beer before I had celiac. Coors Light, nice cold Coors Light, man. It just, you could say what you want. You can make fun of me for drinking it, but it wasn't a strong beer, but it was like, that's a good beer. Crispy, if you would. They threw a fit, and they tried to come up with all this marijuana. And then through them trying to prove how bad marijuana was, that marijuana people were able to disprove all those stereotypes. So Coors threw all those stereotypes at the politicians, and the politicians didn't buy it because it was bullshit. So they hit an all-time sales low, or an all-time decline from a 2-year period of Coors, when that pot came out, because people weren't drinking as much. They were smoking pot instead. So hybrid. A lot of what I buy is hybrid too, but I certainly try to go heavy indica stuff and always have it here when I can't sleep. I have a pen up on my bed, and it's like 89% THC. The RSO oil, anyway, I was telling you about before, it's a syringe. It comes out really gooey. And you could put it in tea or something hot. It's a plastic syringe. You could put it in a cup of hot water, put it in a microwave for a couple of seconds. It'll become more liquefied. That's activated. You could eat it right away. You could drink it right away, and it'll have its effects on you. Some of the stuff you have to heat up to activate it when you get into the gourmet cooking. There's cooking shows about pot. I am not into that. It's a lot of work. I'm not into that. But if you ever watch, I forget a couple of the shows, and I think Action Bronson has one where they just eat shit. And what's the other rapper? I forget the other guy's name. Yeah, Big Pharma's big time against it. Big time against it. Falling apart. Yeah. Well, hey, that's the old athlete injuries. Knock on wood, really nothing from the fire service. Bumps and bruises, but nothing really from the fire service. Stoner Eclipse Palindrome. Palindrome, I'm sure probably most of you do know, but my girlfriend even said this today. So if you go 4/20/2004, you flip it around, the palindromes are talked about in Delphi and things like that. But that is cool. My girlfriend told me that. I was like, I didn't even know that today. Fibromyalgia. Oh, yeah. You know what? So I'm not sure where you are, Miranda, but if they had legal pot, let's say that they had legal pot where you were, medical even, you take your card, you go in a dispensary, you would sit down with a pharmacist, and you would say, here, I have fibromyalgia. Here's my issues. Here's what really bothers me. What can I do? And they would say, well, here, let me tell you this. First, you could smoke this. You can use this as a topical ointment. Here's a pill that you could take if you're more comfortable. You don't want to smoke it. And edible. When we say edible, it could be anything from a candy bar to a pill like you would take. It looks like a regular pill, except there's weed in it, and it's all natural. When they make stuff, it has to be like all natural. The things like that, the gummies and stuff. Cindy's saying about the gummies. But Miranda, probably for you with that kind of pain, because I don't have pain that's similar to fibromyalgia, but just the general pain, you look for a THC CBD combination, and that's really good. And also is an anti-inflammatory too. So yeah. But their answers are there. And it's the people. Here's something else that's cool. When you go to a dispensary, no one's mad. Everyone's happy. It's like payday. It's like you're in a bank on payday, and everyone gets paid on Friday, and everyone's there, and everyone's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. And it's really cool. because there's old white people and young black people. There's middle-aged people from different countries. And there's everybody, men, women, people in between, whatever they want to be called. And everybody's there commingling and coexisting. Everyone that works there looks different, and everybody's cool, and they're laughing and they're telling stories. Oh, what are you doing today? Well, I'm going to go home and get stoned to the bejesus. And the person who works there says, I am too when I get off. Ha, ha, ha. You know, and there's just like that whole like camaraderie. It's like in Platoon, whenever they show Charlie Sheen, I'm going to show you the heads, right? The weed heads. The worm has turned for you. And everyone's down there drinking and smoking and woohoo. And that's like the dispensary. Now, you can't use the weed on the dispensary property. There's signs everywhere. You can't get in your car and burn one up or anything like that. Wait till you get home. And I'm not saying you should smoke weed and drive. People have different varying things on that. But no, don't. Just don't. And in that way, it's easier. Alcohol, drunk driving is much worse. But there's still two birds of the same feather, so to speak. So I would encourage you just to hang out at home. Get your shit, get your food, or have it delivered, sit at home, watch a movie, and do that. Kit Kat, hey, Coach Kev, happy 420. I also use this medicine. So helpful. Can't imagine life without it. Our medical system cannot seem. Yeah, it's hard. Well, they'll give you the pills. I got the pills. I got the pills for the head. I got the pills for the pain. You know, and we'll give you them. They don't work. They work. They treat a symptom, but not the problem. Oh, you could grow it? That's cool. I don't know if I'd be able to do that. If I could, I'd certainly try. And again, if someone had some weed plants in their backyard here, like in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, I don't think the cops would launch an all-out raid on them. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that, but I'm sure that there is some kind of a specific brand or something, specific strand, I should say. Microdosing, yeah, that's it. I'm interested in that too. And you see that a lot with the people, like I said, the Alzheimer's and things like that. That is very interesting. Yeah, cocaine naturally does not, but all the shit that these people put in it after the fact. And again, unless you're down in like Medellin or something, you got to worry about what they're putting in it. Because I don't care how, your buddy gets to, I get it raw. No, you don't. Not unless you're in the goddamn Miami or somewhere in Texas. So someone's putting something in it. You don't know what's in it. I know from my medical marijuana that I can look at the back of it and I can see what the ingredients of it are. You know, just like something you buy at the store. You could see that. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that. And Miranda, I think Biden should legalize it federally and pardon anyone. Yeah, well, they could pardon anyone. Here's the problem with this. And again, my brother's a state attorney general agent. Their big worry is they don't have a way to test you for DUI for marijuana right now. There's different things. University of Pittsburgh had a test, but the FDA wouldn't allow it. So they got to be able to say, I know that you smoked weed within X amount of period of time. And here's the other thing. Weed stays in your system for 30 days, 30 to 50 days, depending on how you talk to, how you ingest it, how much you ingest too. If you smoke like one joint, maybe you're going to have 2 weeks. But if you smoke heavy every day, it's going to be there. Why is that? Alcohol, 24 to 48 hours. Whew, get out of here. Cocaine, 24, get out of here. Your body's firing all that shit out of there, right? Let me put it to you. This is a great argument for anyone that's against, that thinks marijuana is unhealthy for you. You get these things in your body is shooting it out of here. Like, you're drinking. What do you got to do? Oh, I got to go piss again. I got to break the seal. That's your body's way. Like, get out. Cocaine out of your system really fast, right? Medical or any marijuana stays in your system. Why? Because your body uses it, right? Your body's like, yeah, stay for a while, have a couple, take your hat off, take your coat off, and travel through here for a while. When that alcohol or cocaine comes, your body's like, get out of here. I don't want to have you in here. So that's like another way to put it too. Physiologically speaking, I guess. Georgia just beginning it. Yeah. Everybody, I think, is going to have some kind of program with it. What is up, Delphi Dummies? How are you? Very talented Delphi Dummies. Maybe I'll ask one of the family to give. Well, listen, Junior, I'd smoke one before you took an edible. I would smoke one before. Edible is a little bit of a different story altogether. If someone has a vape or something like that, you're hanging out summer's coming up, hit that vape a couple times and see how that does you. Because to me, an edible is a step up. I mean, you're gonna feel differently. But you could get edibles with very low THC and has CBD in it. It'll have pain relief value. It'll have anti-inflammatory values. But that's just my 2 cents. I would say to take a little puff of something first. Unless you have any kind of chronic lung or anything issues, then yeah, go ahead and try one. But if cousin Eddie's eating a half of one, maybe you should only eat an eighth of one. Let cousin Eddie go off on a tangent a little bit. You kind of sit back in a cut and oh yeah. My concern is people are high on the road. Yeah. Well, it's the same as any other drug. You can't be out there fucking blowing blunts and be high and driving. No different than boozing. No different than boozing. So that's the issue that I think that the police are facing. Can they say, are you high right now? I'm not high. We're going to drug test you. Well, go ahead and drug test me. I have my weed card and I smoked a joint yesterday. So that doesn't prove anything. So until they can figure that out, no problem from saving Ruckus from that room and him trying to light his cigar many, many times. Like it was the Deli Dummies. There's a couple good channels out there, but Ruckus and his cigar, and I had to run up the steps and save him. Go check out that. It's pretty funny. And it's really funny watching Ruckus try to light that cigar over and over again. I got totally distracted from the business at hand, and I just started laughing at him. He's my buddy. It's federally legal. It's state. Yeah, it is. So the state could make it legal. That's how this is all like, so it's legal to let the states make it legal. Federally, it's illegal and it's Schedule 1, but there is a law that says that. But now here's an issue with that. Here's one of the side effects of that. So when I go to my dispensary, I can't use my Visa card because Visa won't let you pay for drugs. Okay. And they go back on the federal thing. Well, federally, you're not allowed to do this. You know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. So federally, weed is illegal. It's Schedule 1. But there's a law that says that it could be up to the states. So it's in direct opposition with each other. This is where we are. It's in direct opposition of one another. And both of these things are coexisting. I can pay cash. I can use a debit machine in there, or I can swipe my card and they'll charge you like $3 at the stand there. And they call that an ATM. But American Express, you can't use your cards there because federally they still say that it's a drug. So it's very confusing. I hope that I said that good. I see Miranda and Melissa, you guys are disagreeing, but I actually think you're both kind of right. If you guys are understanding what I'm saying, federally marijuana, Schedule 1 narcotic, not in Schedule 1, could be used for medicinal reasons. So it can't quote unquote be legal, but there is a federal law that says it's up to each state to make it legal. So New York, or Michigan, like we were saying, Michigan, it's legal. You could walk in there and be an adult. You could buy with a pot you need to buy, and it's legal, right? But if you take that weed across a state line, say into Indiana, and it's not legal in Indiana, you could be charged. There could be some, I don't know what they would. I hope they wouldn't charge you with really anything. They would just take it and smoke it later. But so it's very confusing. If that makes any sense. Well, I need it and I don't mind needing it, but yeah, people, it depends on where you grew up too. Like it was socially acceptable in my school since like probably a very young age. Yeah, but Miranda and Melissa, I hope that makes sense to you guys that are kind of going back and forth with it. So it's technically federally illegal, but there's a federal law that says the states can make it legal. It's very, very confusing and confounding as they try to make everything with weed. Like it's got to be so, it's not complicated. Again, let firefighters write the laws, right? Weed's legal. That would be the firefighter law. Or weed is illegal. There wouldn't be all these caveats and all this other shit. Like when you read whenever you read the motions that are filed in courts, the way these attorneys talk, like they just speak human to us. Enough whereases and everything else like that. But so good for so many chronic conditions. Oh yeah, go blue. We just got Scottie Pippen's son for the basketball. Basketball didn't do that good this year, but Scottie Pippen, the famous Bull, his son plays there. Hey, Frank Meister, happy 420 to you, Frank. Frank's the guy that can tell you the benefits also with his conditions, stuff that he's got from the service. But anyways, let me show you a couple things that I got. A couple were interesting, a couple were just funny for 420. I'm only going to stay here for an hour tops today. My girlfriend bartends a couple nights a week, and there's a A local band in Pittsburgh. I don't know if anyone from Pittsburgh is watching. They're locally famous. They're called the Clarks. I don't know if anyone's heard of them outside of Pittsburgh. Really good band. And they their lead singer, a guy named Scott Blasey, is performing actually at the bar that she works at. As you can see, I have to add my tax information to get paid here from let's see if this comes up here on time, because they're talking about overdosing, and there was a judge, a good article here, and there's a judge that talked about what you would theoretically need to smoke to overdose on marijuana. Theoretically have to consume nearly 1,500 pounds of marijuana in about 15 minutes. The only way that can happen to you if there's a 1,500-pound bale of marijuana that falls on your head. So if you want to Google Judge Francis marijuana, there's quite a bunch of good stories there. Let me blow this up a little bit. This was basically the gist of what he was talking about. And let me get into this and show it to you guys. So, yeah, you cannot die from marijuana. No one ever has. If anyone says, oh, they did this, they don't. Do people ever try to put stuff in there? I've heard that, but every case that I've seen where someone smoked weed and then they're dead, they have fentanyl in their system from before. If anyone adds fentanyl to marijuana, guys, you're clearly going to be able to see it. I mean, you're clearly going to be able to see that what is this white powder here? And again, if you're buying weed from a street guy and a street weed dealer kills somebody, he's out of business forever, because no weed guys are going to go running up to him. This isn't like the marijuana thing. Anyways, fatally overdosing of marijuana on its most commonly ingested forms is seemingly impossible. In 1998, a DEA judge, that's the guy's name before, in favor of rescheduling marijuana, in part because of its low harm profile. In his ruling, he wrote that a user would have to ingest somewhere between 20 to 40,000 times the amount of THC contained in a single joint to reach a lethal toxicity. Those were the 1,500 pounds we talked about before. So you'd have to smoke 20 to 40,000 joints. I don't think Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, and Bob Marley put together could do that, but that's my 2 cents on it. So I digress. Let me show you a little bit more here. We have a little PTSD stuff here, and this is where the rubber meets the road with this. After I X out of this Forbes, we don't want to subscribe to Forbes. Thank you anyway. The Forbes Magazine. We all have heard of Forbes Magazine before. Okay, good. I'm just making sure we're catching up. So just a couple of things. I could share it. I will share this today on my community page. Forbes Magazine doesn't have enough money, so they hit you with constant ads that pop up out of everywhere. But where the rubber meets the road, how does marijuana help people with PTSD? How exactly does it do it? Where's the science behind it? Here's a disabled veteran who served in Iraq. He's facing 5 years in prison for possessing marijuana that a doctor prescribed him. So they put stories like this. This is 2020. I actually think this guy's case has been adjudicated. I'm not 100% sure. But the anxiety, let me get down here. And I have a couple of charts, too, that are pretty cool to show you. The authors conclude that the research suggests that THC modulates threat-related processing trauma-exposed individual with PTSD, and add the drug may prove advantageous as a pharmacological approach to treating stress and trauma-related psychopathy. So, yeah, psychopathology. Goodness gracious, easy for me to say. So, what exactly does that mean? As you break it down into that, this is like kind of almost like cleaning out your computer. You picture your brain being like a computer. You got viruses in there, you got malware in there. This is kind of going there, and it's able to kind of remove the bad stuff and kind of tamper down these feelings that you've had. And it does it through a chemical process. And it's very, very interesting. Here's Brazil. You see a lot of these studies, unfortunately, aren't in the United States, because these other countries have been doing this since the late 80s and early 90s with cancer research and different things like that. We're not even going to delve into cancer research really today, but, extinction level process usually helps trauma resolve its own. He gave the example of an Iraq war veteran who got PTSD symptoms while driving under bridges after dodging explosives thrown down. So basically, anytime that this guy would go under a bridge, it would trigger him. Suppose some part of your reptile brain thinks it's if you walk under a bridge, you're going to die. Life becomes very hard. So reptile brain is kind of like your primal brain. You can't really, affect it. It kind of does what it does. But us, a lot of us that have PTSD, where it happened from, our fight or flight were spiked, and it was spiked for a bad reason. And and your memory's tied into your olfactory senses, to your nose. So a lot of times smell brings back feelings. That's something that I learned. For me, it's gasoline, man. Oh, gasoline. Even when I go get gas, it's not like it used to be, but I'll smell it real quick and I'll think of 2 instances that I had at work. One of them was last fall. And it's just, it'll never go away. It'll never go away. I used to like smell gasoline, not like Jesco White in a Wild Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. I never huffed it or anything like that. I'm from the inner city. We guys don't huff gasoline. But it's a cool smell. Now it's just like, it's, when I smell gasoline, I feel it here and I feel it here, not just in my nose. And it's hard to explain that, but that's what's triggered it. But I'll share this article. I don't want this to be a downer day. I really don't. So we're not going to be a downer day. We're going to get on to the funny stuff that I want to show you now, if I may. Let's go back. If he lets me go back. So I have a couple cool pictures here to show you, and then I'll get back into the comments. So these are kind of like, let me see what I have here. Oh yeah, so these are cool. This kind of explains if you really want to get into it. Number one, reduces hypervigilance. Hypervigilance, holy shit. Hypervigilance is my bugaboo. So basically hypervigilance, your brain shut on, fight or flight is just peaked at all times. You're just, and it's a speeding process. It's almost like you're going down a hill and you can't control it. You go faster and faster and faster. Hypervigilance. You're just so hypervigilant of everything. Your brain won't shut off. You can't get REM sleep. It just won't let you get REM sleep. If you guys understand kind of what hypervigilance is, a constant state of alert. Hyperarousal. Hyperarousal, what's that mean? Hyperarousal is the littlest thing sets you off and you go fucking apeshit crazy over it, because you have all this stored up energy and you have all this stored up just, pain. It has to come out of your body. Your body has to eject it because it knows it has to for the health so you can survive. So at the littlest point that it can take advantage of it, it just fucking, and it might be it's on people that you don't mean to take it out on. And that happens, and it's sad. And people that have spouses or family members that have PTSD, you need to understand, and it's very hard to do that. A lot of times it isn't personal. It has nothing to do with you. It's that person. And when you see people that haven't been like that before, that are like that, or all of a sudden the people, when you have parties, I remember there were so many times over the years, my mom was right up the street that have issue parties, and I'd say I was sick. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to be around my own family. Think about how crazy that is. Now, for the last few years, and I owe this, to pot, I owe this to treatment that I saw, and I owe a lot of this to my girlfriend, Brooke, too. You can't keep Uncle Kev away from the pool, because if the nephews are coming at 1, we're there at 12:30, and I'm in the pool with my sunblock and my hat on, and come on, get in here, and let's cause a ruckus, and let's act up. Let's make everyone yell at us. Let's get the kids tired and worn down. Let's have a couple. Let's grill out. And you can't keep me away from it now. But I don't even know if my family even noticed that or even saw that. But just to get the word out there, if you have someone like that, and you might go up and talk to them, and I ain't talking to you. Fuck no, I ain't talking to you. I'm not talking to anyone at work. I was that kind. But you have to. They have to talk. It has to come out. Promotes fear, extinction. This is kind of worded funny to me, but let me tell you how I take it. You're just constantly like, always in worry mode, always looking at things like maybe from the worst point of view you can look at it. Oh, don't go there. Something bad's going to happen. The phone rings. Oh, who could it be? Oh, why is he calling? He must have bad news. Like, what? Think about how crazy that is, but that's where you are. Improves quality of sleep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It improves quality of sleep, like we talked about before. Reduces nightmares. It does reduce nightmares. And I don't understand the science behind that, guys. But I can tell you that when I've went to sleep, kind of forced myself to go to sleep with pot, I never once woke up not being able to breathe. That was always my thing. And it was I know I sent myself more stuff here. There we go. All right. So this is like the endocannabinoid system. It talks about where it is, things that it helps, all these things, CB1, CB2. So these are the things the cannabinoid receives, and this is where it goes. And it's fascinating. And I'm not going to sit here and be able to tell you and spawn off on all these things. But, you know, if you're into it, research it on your own because it is very interesting. But medical stuff isn't like my top expertise. What do cannabinoid receptors do? Well, this is what they do is you look, that's a big indica plant, received to the central nervous system. Basically, how it breaks it down, kind of working with the dopamine. And then you could see where everything is going to. And it's all very interesting. And again, I'm not the one to sit here. This is like me reading court documents, explaining lawyer shit to you. It ain't my game. I know enough about it to know how it helps me, but I just wanted to show it to you guys if you guys want to continue down the path and see what's going on with everything. I apologize, guys. Here it is. I'm talking. I'm not even looking. So here's the first one. I'll go back to the other one too that I didn't show you before. Hopefully we could all come up. There we go. There we go. I apologize. I'm having such a good time fucking talking here like I do. So this is the first one. I'll go back to the second one. What do cannabinoid receptors do? I keep forgetting I have to click the thing at the top to view this one instead. This is the cannabinoid receptor, where they are in your body and how they move around. And again, you could go down this path. I am not the guy to teach you about really anything medical, right? I can hold your neck if you're in a car wreck. I can give you CPR and work an AED and hold your leg if it's broken. But past that, that is about it. So there's that. Jump out of here. Get back into the StreamYard. See what you guys have to say. Just a couple of things I wanted to show you real fast. And again, you got to continue on your path and your research there. But if anyone has any, you know, we have quite people asked about different things and help with this and help with that before. I could help you. I could give you specific brands and stuff that we have here in Pennsylvania for different things. I could tell you that I use the Dr. Solomon's cream, the extra strength. It's a transdermal, so you put it on after the shower. Go down through your skin for your muscles. When I used to get headaches, and I don't get headaches anymore since I've had celiac. I don't really know why. I've got a headache one time, and I had drank too much sugary drinks the night before. It was like a hangover. But past that, I just don't get them anymore. But I would rub them on my temples when the weather would change. I would get them all the time real bad, and I just don't have that anymore. So lucky enough. Let's see what we got to say. Prescription meds to sleep. Yeah, that would be something specific, CJK. If wherever you are or if you get into it, you would actually be able to talk to a not necessarily a pharmacist like at a Rite Aid, but like a weed pharmacist. Here's my deal. Here's the pills that I'm taking now. What can I supplement that with? What can I take weed with that would help with it? Or can I get some kind of pot that I don't have to take these anymore? So I hope I explained. I don't know if I did a good job of the federally legal weed thing or not, because it's like back and forth, but it's tough to understand. Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. And like for me personally, the pills didn't work. I don't even take Tylenol anymore. Nothing. Pills are a dangerous thing in my book. But if someone has something that it's working for them and it's not putting off bad side effects, then this is just all about another option for people and another road to go down. And again, yeah, you might just want to hang out on a Saturday night with some buddies and watch the football game or the fight and just smoke a couple joints or a couple bowls. Same thing as going out and having a couple beers. The only thing is, how many times medicinally can you say, God, I got whatever. I have some kind of infection. The doctor said to go home and drink some Iron City beer, and it'll help. They're not going to do that. Cindy Lean's passing it to Frank Meister. Kit Kat, the medicine they gave me made me damn near bedridden. I have all kinds of new problems thanks to their meds. Yeah, I hate when that happens to people. They'll have an issue and they'll fix that issue, but then it'll create others. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it happens enough where you're not going to have side effects from the weed other than maybe you get hungry for some Doritos at night and maybe you don't remember where you put your car keys. But past that, I don't know of any, and I've used it almost for, God, this will be like my 30th anniversary with it this year for the most part. Yeah, well, like I said, it might be, and again, if depending on what you have, and you could look it up online and stuff like that, but it's always better to talk to somebody. So if you were able to have that in your state and you would get your card, you'd be able to go sit down with that pharmacist, like in PA, there's always one on site, and you would say, hey, these are the meds I'm taking, and they'll be able to look at them and say, okay, here's your issues, what bothers you, and then they could hopefully help you out with that. Hopefully. THC stored in your fat, why it's hard to get around. Yeah. It goes to a good place. As you said to me before, it goes to your happy place. One person, actually, a very big weed advocate that works for a weed company, when we talked about why it stays in your system for so long, he says, well, it goes into your happy place where everything happy goes, into your fat. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, think about it. You're eating your nachos, your Doritos. It makes me happy. It goes into the fat. That's where the weed goes. So that's not a clinical diagnosis of any sort. It's just a kind of a funny way. I don't know if you have a cousin Eddie or not. I actually have a cousin Eddie. He's not like the cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation, but he's still cousin Eddie. So it's pretty funny. Cousin Eddie partakes. He does partake. West Memphis 3. Yeah, I'm going to be at, like I said, that little concert tonight, but I'm very interested in that case tonight, Miranda, and the DNA testing that may be coming from that. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Bill Clinton smoked pot but didn't inhale. I can tell you something about Bill Clinton, and I liked him a lot at the time as a politician. Bill Clinton got stoned to the bejesus, let me tell you. He inhaled many times, and he did a lot worse than inhale pot, to keep it real. We need a series on high-profile cases other than Delphi. Well, yeah, well, there's enough of them. I don't know how many people like the Manson thing that I did, but Manson to me is the most high-profile case that nobody really knows what happened, in my opinion. Whatever you think happened, it's not the official story. But yeah, there's a few, and there's a few where people you think, this guy's guilty, this guy's guilty, this guy's guilty, and then bang, one day evidence comes out against somebody else. I worked in collections and was drug tested. The doctor called me personally and that I had so much THC in my system, their scale only registers. I was off the scales. So I'd have been like, cool. So you didn't get anything on me then? And again, you're in collections on a phone. Like, you can't get high at night when you go home. You can't smoke a joint after work to decompress. A lot more businesses are not testing. Look at the NBA and that. It's all cool to smoke now. Every state around Indiana. I think maybe one day you'll get there. Yeah, Miranda, you're right. Because I do. I have my card, and then if they would have got me there, it wouldn't have mattered to them. Yeah, that's another reason I did this. If there's anybody in there that's I don't have a ton of people in chat right today, but people that are listening or laying back, like, well, I do smoke pot, but I don't want to put it out because maybe there's a stigmata. And again, if you guys don't know the Sopranos reference, I apologize. But it's gone. It isn't there anymore. And I see that from people that are maybe 50, 55 and older. They came up in a different time where weed was still like, pot, cocaine, stuff like that. But it's totally cool in more than one way. It really is. And, it's helped me, and people are telling you how it's helped them. Let's see. Dealing with from his 20 years, and now it seems like we are the ones teaching the doctors. Yeah. You know what, too? I've had the things with doctors tell me, oh, chiropractors, they're witch doctors. No, they're not. They fix me. I'm not saying all doctors, but maybe some doctors, they're set in their ways. They came up at a different time. The FDA was teaching them this is bad, this is that. And of course, they're not good. I see the same way in the firefighting. Maybe I'm one of the old guys now that are kind of set in our ways on doing certain things. And the young guys say, you should carry the ladder like this. No, you shouldn't. Why? Well, because when you put it up, blah, blah, or whatever, and it could be going on. And there also could be a wave of young doctors that realize that say, hey, listen, first do no harm. So is supposed to be their motto, right? Well, if I could give this guy some pot and it's going to alleviate his condition without side effects, even though the guy that owns this pharmaceutical company is willing to take me on a ski trip and provide hookers and cocaine. Yeah, that's real. That's what the Purdue family did, pushing the non-addictive Oxycontin. Maybe, we'll be less likely to touch medical people, if you will, and get them to do these things. I'm not sure about the Farm Bill. I'm attacking it from the law enforcement end, and that's their big concern with it. But the Farm Bill, I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about that end of it, which would be like the gross domestic product end or the manufacturing end. I'm just telling you, like the end where like the law enforcement people that are high up say we have to have this before we can figure out anything else. So there's probably 2 or 3 other points of this square or whatever the hell shape it's going to end up being if you do it. Gummies, yeah, that's a thing too, Paul. A lot of people aren't into the smoking of it. They don't like to they don't smoke anything. Or maybe they have lung issues. Maybe they just don't like having smoke in their lungs. And they can do the different things. There's tinctures too. And you can still take advantage of the creams for pain and stuff like that. Absolutely, Kit Kat. I'm glad that you came in and were able to talk. And I hope we'll wrap it up here in a few. I hope everyone was able to kind of oh, Melissa, didn't you see what he did? Snoop Dogg gave up weed for a day. It was a publicity stunt. And now he supposedly is using this smokeless pot. I don't know. It's real weed or something. But yeah, you have to look it up because that was only like a publicity stunt in Ohio. Yeah, you guys don't have it, or you have your card but not fully legal in Ohio, right, Paul? If I'm not mistaken. Hey, thanks, Junior. Yeah, I would just recommend if you want to give it a try before you take an edible, ask someone to hit a pen or something at a party. Maybe grab a quick pull off a bowl. But no matter what, just remember it can't kill you. You're not going to die from it, no matter what. Yeah, unless you smoke, as we said today. What was it? 15,000 joints, or what? 20,000 joints in 15 minutes. Yeah, Rogan. But Melissa, check out what he did after that ad, because he went from saying he wasn't smoking to promoting some others. It was genius. It was genius because even I said, "Oh, what? No, I ain't buying bullshit. Snoop's not smoking weed anymore." Oh man, I'm gonna wrap us up here and get us out of here. And I'm glad everybody came in. And I'll share some of those things that I talked about on my community page. Oh, cool, Paul. Didn't know that. Medical recreational by June. We've had medical here for, I think, 5 or 6 years, and there's talk of recreation. And the governor is saying he wants to do it. We'll see. But you know how many hoops there'll be to jump through. Again, let the firemen write the laws. Weed's legal. Well, what about weed's legal? That's the fireman. We wrote it. That's it. There's no whereas over here, deuces tecum, none of that shit. We just, here it is. It's legal. Let the fireman write the law. But I appreciate it. I hope everyone enjoy. We have sunny weather. It's chillier than it's been, but it's 59 degrees. It's April in Pennsylvania, so we're not going to complain about that. I'm going to hang out with a couple buddies from the fire department. One of them's retired. One of them, he's actually going to be getting his card. He's had a lot of trouble sleeping. And even though we had it in our contract, he was always leery about it. He's a little bit older than me, and he was right on the edge of the reefer madness stuff. Good guy. You know him, and I won't give his name out, but you go back and watch some of my videos. He had a really cool retirement video. So we're going to get him high tonight and watch the Clarks, and I'll have a couple of seltzers, because I can't have regular beer. And again, I'm not knocking people to drink. Have at it. Don't drink every day. Don't drink and drive, please. Have some of them take you. There's with the Ubers and everything like that. If you're high, don't drive. Wait till you get to where you're going. Come home, bring all your stuff home, light it up, hang out, watch a movie, watch a ball game, whatever's your thing. Watch some YouTube. And I don't want to have a stigma about it. And even as a coach, my players, right? I wouldn't condone anyone doing this or that, but and say, listen, guys, at the end of the day, as a coach, as a mentor to you, I'm going to keep it real with you. Alcohol is not the way to go. I'm not saying you should smoke weed by any stretch of the imagination, but weed's safer than alcohol. Weed's safer than Tylenol. Roughly 4,000 people a year die from Tylenol from the effects of that. And what it does to kind of your liver and your things like that. But, not to get on the thing that I'm not knocking anyone for taking medication that they take or anything like that. Just trying to open a portal. Maybe there's something you can do to offset. Maybe the medication is necessary for you to take and you have a bad side effect and they gave you another medication for the side effect. Well, maybe the weed could take away that side effect and you could still have your good med that you're on that works for you. So that's all. Any questions anybody has, I'd love to answer. Anything pot related I can help you with. And again, my big thing, how pot saved me, couldn't sleep. It's just, God, it's debilitating, man. You feel like you're walking around like you're walking dead. Like you sleep 6 hours in 2 weeks. And then your mind isn't working right. Your mind isn't working right. And you think of ways to, I need to shut my eyes, and you think of ways to do that. And things start going through your head that are fucking crazy that you would never in your life before would have thought of. And luckily you've never in your life since have thought of, because there's an end to it. You got to sit there and you got to say there's an end to it. And this is the means to the end. So needless to say, the first time I took it was called OG19, the Rick Simpson oil. I slept from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about 2 a.m. And when I woke up at 2 a.m., I felt invigorated. Like at 2 in the morning, I wanted to go cut the grass and run the sweeper. Let's go. And then that was my answer. And I could tell there's things that happen to me that I could tell when I'm not going to be able to sleep. I could tell when that spring hits. I'm just getting over it now. It's just one of the incidents of trauma happened, the smell of mud and fresh, it's like fresh rain. It's a trigger to me, and it led to a couple sleepless nights, but I got the RSO oil. I got the pen right up there, and it gets you there and it saves you. It does. So that's my story. I hope you all understand it, enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody for coming in. This is one of my huge chats or anything true crime related. I hope if you celebrate 420, you have a safe 420, celebrate it cool. Don't be getting all doped up and driving around. If you're going to have a couple, Uber back and forth, enjoy the day. Summer's coming up. Can't wait for it. And, we have a lot coming up true crime calendar wise. So, there's a lot to look forward to and do. And one of my friends from YouTube is going to have an exciting announcement, hopefully Monday, about something that they're able to do coming up in May. But certainly won't steal her thunder. But sending a digital, to everybody here. No box tea today. We're having some Gatorade, and in about 2 hours, Red Bridge gluten-free beer, and some White Claws, Black Cherry White Claw, the Claw. So I'm going to leave you at that. I'm going to say tentacles. So everyone have your drink before we get out of here. Or today, instead of tentacles and drinking, let's say tentacles. Ooh, goodness. Coach Kev, out. Happy 420. I love you all. Take care. Be safe. And be good.